Hi, my name is Chaz Burton, and I currently reside in Bali, Malaysia, in the northern state of Kedah. My job here is working for the Malaysian Ministry of Education as a teacher, trainer, and mentor. I work with 14 teachers, providing mentoring and support to help them become more proficient users of English and to increase their pedagogical and methodological awareness. I also encourage and facilitate collaboration, both with me and among themselves, to gain the specific strategies and skills necessary to become more effective teachers of English to young EFL learners. This is quite a challenging job in many respects. Although this is changing, most Malaysian teachers were provided very little pedagogical or methodological training. It's very common to see their hastily written notes in their plan books simply duplicating the content from the textbook. There's also an almost rigid adherence to covering the textbook. Shifting the awareness and attitudes towards mastery versus coverage has come slowly. In addition, many teachers here have inconsistent internet connections and thus do not communicate via the net, but mostly through texting on their phones. For obvious reasons, this severely limits the communication and collaboration that occurs between us as a group. And yet, there are enormous benefits and rewards in working with this population as well. For the most part, the teachers are open and eager to learn new ideas and strategies. It's easy to see the excitement and appreciation when they're exposed to ideas and strategies that can solve the specific problems they're experiencing as teachers. It's a bit more difficult for them to begin to implement after seeing these ideas and strategies modeled in demo lessons, for them to begin to implement them. This requires a good deal of trust and rapport in order for them to take the risk of trying new things in their teaching, things which might or might not work, but which inevitably lead to lively dialogue and collaboration, and eventually to better methodology. One of the tools I've employed to increase collaboration is a closed Facebook group. Although there is substantial resistance to consistent email communication, they all want to join the Facebook bandwagon, so most were initially excited to join. My request of them is a weekly contribution, posting a question they have, a portion of a lesson they have liked, a picture with a caption, a link to a website they've used and liked, or merely a response to another teacher's post. Unfortunately, this has proved to be very difficult for many reasons. The first is the underlying attitudes towards online communication. It's just not seen as an essential part of the communication lexicon here. In my experience as an educator, it is fundamental. In California, we were required to reply to school emails within 24 hours, and I use email integrally as a way of making the parents of my students feel more included in the classroom community. So I've been gently prodding to develop these skills with the Facebook group, many lessons on email writing, etiquette, and regular, although I've learned not too many, email threads. Another element that limits our collaboration that occurs within the Facebook group in general is the prevalent Asian quality of humility, a trait, by the way, that I've come to appreciate and cultivate more in myself. It is seen as boastful and inappropriate to compliment or commend oneself, thus posting something positive about a lesson rarely occurs. I try and model posts that somewhat deflect direct credit, writing in the passive voice or the third person. Regarding specific guidance and lesson planning, I have tended to focus on a simple yet powerful acronym, VAC, Visual, Audio, and Kinesthetic. I encourage teachers when writing lessons to include all three. This has been quite a stretch for me to think of or find and create the visuals and realia for each lesson, so vital to teaching young EFL learners, has required enormous amounts of time. So too has it been a challenge to gradually delegate this to the teachers, empowering them to supply these VAC materials for their lessons, where they too have come to realize the time requirement, particularly initially. We are all learning that it does get easier with experience. A final element, I feel the most powerful regarding collaboration, relates to what I've come to realize is the most important aspect of collaboration. True collaboration requires a certain vulnerability among the collaborators, the willingness to tell on myself. There has to be enough trust and rapport, as I've already mentioned, to open up and reveal the parts of my teaching that I don't want to admit to myself, let alone to share with others. Like when I lose my cool and react angrily to students, or when I come to class far less prepared than I know I should be, or when I stubbornly stick to a lesson that is clearly not working, and that I know I need to make an adjustment. I have found tentatively at first, and yet with increasing verve, that as I've been willing to share these experiences that seem so vulnerable, that ever so slowly other teachers have been willing to do the same. This points directly at my vision for teacher training, to provide the kind of nurturing environment that allows teachers to feel safe enough to take the risk of going to their personal edge, revealing things about themselves that they might have been convinced were solely unique, yet come to find are shared among many, if not all, the teachers. What I'm describing here, of course, is reflective practice, something that I have a bit of experience with in my time in the Daegu chapter of Kotisol, and that I sincerely want to delve more fully into in my next teaching adventure. So that's a little bit about me. I look forward to hearing from you and learning more about the opportunities at GIFL.